All right, welcome back to the AfterHours podcast. I'm your host, Francisco. Co-host today, I got Daniel, and joining with us is Brandon Parnell from Flora-Bama. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Just loving the fact that I have some time to actually get into the podcast with you guys. I've had very little of it as of late, so it's awesome to be having this conversation.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you. So talking briefly with Jennifer Parnell, who's your wife, and she's also one of the marketing directors for Flora-Bama. And it seems like you wear many hats within Flora-Bama. You are Director of Entertainment, General Manager, and Beverage Director, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I definitely I have my work cut out for me, and we have a number of outlets outside of the Flora-Bama footprint of properties that I do beverage and entertainment for. But here on property, I'm the general manager, and then obviously the associated responsibilities with beverage and entertainment for us is pretty immaculate. But yeah, that's my cross to bear.
So for everyone that's not familiar, can you go ahead and explain what exactly Flora-Bama is?
Yeah, so we are actually located on the state line in the panhandle of Florida, right where Alabama meets Florida. Orange Beach, Alabama, and Perdido Key, Florida converge, and we've been here since 1964. Started out with some very simple means, and have grown into quite the operation. But we are located on the state line, right there where Alabama meets Florida.
Makes sense.
Very nice. Yeah, and when you first look at Flora-Bama, the first thing that comes to my mind isn't necessarily a bar. It's like a culture, a lifestyle. Like, what all do you guys do? Because from your website, you guys do many things.
We do, man. I mean, oftentimes I say that we're an event company. We have so many. Last year we had 151 events on site. Obviously, a number of those are much larger and to a greater scale than others. But at the end of the day, the Flora-Bama is exactly what you said. It's an experience. It's something that our ownership team has really cultivated and developed over the course of several decades. We're going on our 56th year, and what's been paramount to our success, and I would say several of the key attributes of the Flora-Bama experience is, first and foremost, our mantra is good times, good music. So entertainment has been a part of our business since the inception, and we have an abundance of music that's programmed on a weekly, monthly, and annual basis. So entertainment is a big part of what we do, but we're also one of the largest bars in the U.S. And so we sell a good bit of booze, but by all stretches, we definitely sell fun, and that's kind of quintessential to who we are too. So the experience is something that can only be had first person, and when you guys get a chance to get down here, we're going to do it up.
Absolutely. Right before the pandemic in March 2020. The company that Dan and I work for and we're co-founders in, we were actually talking about going to either Florida or Arizona. So it's a pretty good chance next time we get a chance to go out on a little vacation, it's going to be Florida.
You tell me the time, and I'll make our condo available, and you can stumble back to it very easily.
Love to hear that. So what kind of preparation goes into hosting these massive events, these massive concerts with thousands of people?
You spoke to Jennifer earlier, my wife, who's the marketing director. She has a great team underneath her. She has a social and digital director. She has a special events director. She has a business development manager, and a couple of other individuals that are on her team who are responsible for executing against large scale events in conjunction with myself and the operation team. And, the planning is tremendous. Mullet Toss is one of our larger events. It happens the last full weekend in April. We garner an attendance of about 40,000 patrons. And you wouldn't believe what's associated with pulling the event off. I mean, the Mullet Toss, we actually internally in the company have a Mullet Toss Bible that's about 50 pages long that speaks to everything that our employees are going to have to deal with, the challenges that they'll encounter, and being prepared for it. But some of the larger stuff that we begin planning 12 months out. Needless to say, we didn't get to host Mullet Toss this year, so that was a substantial blow, both from a revenue generating perspective and culturally speaking. It's just such a significant event for us. So that was tough. But I mean, oftentimes we have ample time to plan for a sizable event, and then we really are sometimes put under the crucible and have virtually no time to plan for things. In 2014, we hosted Kenny Chesney's Flora-Bama Jamma, and we pulled that event off in roughly a 45-day period. So, we respond to what we're issued.
So we were going through your site and we saw the Mullet Toss and we were very intrigued. Could you explain what the Mullet Toss entails?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool event. And contrary to some people's belief, it does not involve business in the front and party in the back. So no actual mullets. Well, I say that, but people dress up to come to the event, and they dress up in some pretty crazy stuff. But the genesis of the concept actually came from one of our owners, Pat McClellan, and one of our original musicians, Jimmy Lewis. They were thinking about ways, and at that point in time when the shoulder season wasn't very heavily attended, and now, which we all know, it's extremely well attended on an annual basis. But the genesis was, how do we create an event that's gonna draw and attract a lot of people down to the area, both for the Flora-Bama and this geography, respectively speaking? How can we really make an impact on heads and beds and make an economic impact? And their idea came from a buffalo chip throwing contest, and that was kind of what sprouted the concept initially. And then, what is indigenous to our area that we could toss outside of that across the state line for distance in a competition? And the answer was a mullet, which is a local fish, and it has really proliferated. So we have a scoreboard. There is a throwing circle. We have measurers out there, and then the entire court is surrounded by seats, and it's the Gulf Coast's largest beach party. It's just it's a crazy atmosphere. A lot of music going on at that point in time. I think I had 72 shows over the term of Mullet Toss the previous year, but it's something that's just it's a wild gathering of an eclectic group of people. The demographic is so dynamic, it's hard to really articulate it with words. You just have to experience it. But to answer your question, it's we get a lot of people here to throw a fish across the state line for distance.
Hey man, it sounds pretty fun. I'd do it.
It's awesome, man. It really is. And the number has grown for us on an annual basis so substantially that, like I said earlier, we're processing 40,000 patrons that weekend. So it's chaos, more or less, inside the bar, but we have a nice system that's established for actually tossing the fish. We have celebrity tossers in the beginning phases of Mullet Toss. Some of those people included Kenny Stabler, who obviously was a quarterback for the University of Alabama, went on to be a quarterback for the Raiders and win a Super Bowl. Kenny's from this area, and he was kind of a real big part in popularizing this place. But you never know who's going to show up at the Mullet Toss to throw a fish, man. It changes every year, but I'm more impressed with each and every year.
So what's the process for getting all those mullets? Because that sounds like a lot of mullets to prepare for.
It is. So we've got a purchasing team, and they, there's a pile of mullets here in this area. So we harvest the mullets, and there's a good bit of them, and we change them out pretty frequently. But you're going to toss a mullet 10 to 15 times before its structural integrity is gone. So we move on to the next mullet after about 10 or 15 tosses. But we harvest them here, and they're dead when we throw them, obviously, but it's pretty neat to watch that process of acquiring the mullets and then becoming like a focal point for the entire event. It's a real cool experience. You guys should set a time next April aside to come be a part of it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We can just get some duct tape and we can expand the lifespan on those mullets.
That duct tape might actually help a method of toss also known as a taco throw, which is where you fold the mullet in half and it expands like a javelin. Our owner, Pat McClellan, is a king of the taco throw.
Okay.
I love how there's specific techniques for this.
There are, man. There are. We've had several years to develop them.
All right, let's take it back now. So how did you first get associated with Flora-Bama?
Well, I worked in the beverage industry for almost 2 decades and worked for a myriad of employers, both on the supplier and distributor side. I worked for Jim Beam for a considerable length of time in multiple markets, and have worked for the largest 2 distributors in the world, and worked in multiple sales and marketing capacities for those companies. So the Flora-Bama was kind of always on my radar. But long before I got into the beverage industry, I was actually a performer. And this is one of those places. It's just that notch in the belt, so to speak, and a cultural icon for entertainers that are all over the U.S. and particularly in the Southeast. So I encountered the Flora-Bama on the front of being a performer, but eventually came back to this area. This was in 2014 to do nothing but play music again, and in the process met 2 of the new owners, John McInnes and Cam Price, who have become 2 of my best friends. And when I was here for a little while, they approached me and said, "Hey, what are you doing for the next 30 years?" And my answer to that question was, "Well, I'd love to be a part of this place. It depends on what it looks like." And I said, "Well, why don't you take on entertainment?" So that's exactly what I did, man. And it's a beast. It was a real bull to wrangle initially. We have 3,500 performances annually, and getting your arms around that is pretty tough in and of itself right out of the gates. Talent procurement here is it's monolithic, to say the very least. So initially, that's exactly what I did for the company. And once Cam and John realized that I had the beverage pass that I do in terms of professional experience, they extended more opportunities to me. And now I am, I'm involved in every aspect of what we do here at the Flora-Bama. We've got a liquor store on property. We have 2 restaurants on property, 3 restaurants, if you include the Oyster Bar that's actually on the south side of the road in the lounge. But we also have a marina. So there's no shortage of things going on here at the Flora-Bama. And I touch a little bit of every one of them. I'm lucky to do that. It's just been an interesting ride, to say the very least.
That's so cool that you get to put your hands in all the different pots and get to be a part of it all. So that's pretty cool.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor. This place is it's a really cool brand. And to your point earlier, when we kicked off the podcast, you guys mentioned that it is it's a lifestyle. And once you're a part of it, it's a part of you that really never leaves. We're very, very lucky to have the patron base that we have. We're very, very lucky to have the employee base that we have, and we're exceptionally lucky to have the entertainment base that we have here. I've never seen an area with such a high concentration and caliber of incredible musicians. We're truly lucky. This is kind of the Gold Coast for entertainers, gigging entertainers that want to make a decent living. And we're kind of the hub of that. So yeah, every day I come to this place to do what I do here. I'm grateful for it, man. It's a cultural icon, and to be associated with it in any way is really a cool thing, man.
So does Flora-Bama also have its own church as well?
That is correct. Yeah. On Sunday mornings, we have 2 services, and we have a gigantic Easter service that typically garners around 4,000 or 5,000 patrons. But yeah, we're a bar with a church service, believe it or not, and it's incredibly well attended.
Amazing.
Yeah, you can come have a bushwhacker and get to know Jesus, man.
So how did that happen recently, or how did that come to be?
Yeah. So when John McInnes essentially became an owner here, one of the things that we looked at is, how do we impact the culture of this area? What are the things that we're doing to really touch everybody in this area and make them feel welcome, make them feel like they have a place to go and kind of a haven to escape from life's everyday follies. And the mantra of the church is, it's okay to not be okay. It's kind of like, everybody's broken. And that's been such a cool way for us to approach individuals in the religious realm, man, because it's something that resonates, believe it or not, and certainly has resulted in success for us as far as the church is concerned.
That's really awesome.
Ain't that the truth?
It's super cool. It's a heck of an experience, man. I mean, you come out out and have a great time and wake up on Sunday morning and just go further against what it is that we're trying to do here, which is be a better member of the community. And ultimately, there was a demand for it, and it's something that has flourished, and we're lucky to have the church too. So the church is Central Church, which is based out of Las Vegas, but we have our arm of the church here at the Flora-Bama, and we have a tremendous amount of support from Central, the things that they do, and we do a lot of really cool church stuff. During the pandemic, you could actually we had 4 different events that were what we call pop, drop, and roll, where anybody, you drive through our parking lots, you essentially pass through a tent, you pop your trunk, and then we fill it with all kinds of goods. I mean, it's anything from tenderloin to Cracker Jacks, and that's been a real success for us this year. We also have a food pantry where we take care of our employees and take care of a lot of local people who aren't doing so well, and that's been another community outreach program that's had tremendous success. So just a lot of cool stuff, man, and it's a very approachable aspect of the organization. I feel like, without denigrating in any way, shape, or form religion or churches anywhere, from time to time it can be a tough subject matter to approach, but the way that we've rolled it out to the community is hey, it's okay to not be okay, and we'll take everybody because there's a message to be heard, and that message has been pretty profound. So just a really cool part of what we do.
That's very cool. Yeah, I love the outlook you guys have there. So while we're on the topic of being involved in the community, what partnerships have you formed in Florida and in Alabama, such as like corporations or organizations that let you do these charitable things, charitable events, golf outings, whatever it may be? Can you list off some partners?
I mean, man, it's such an extensive list. Right off the top of my head, we partnered with iHeartRadio, and those guys have become such a strong partnership for us. In fact, this past weekend on Saturday, we officially launched Flora-Bama Radio, which is our own channel on the iHeart platform. Really, really cool endeavor that we started developing a year ago, and now finally got it across the finish line. But they're huge partners for us. They do just really bend over backwards to take care of us and help us get messaging out, to acquire new listeners, and to really push whatever it is that we have on our agenda. And then from the flip side of that, we have partnerships with Youth Ranch, Youth Reach here, which is it's an organization that essentially takes kids that are having trouble, and we try to get them back in line. They live out in the country, just north of us, and there's a stable there. They take care of horses and animals, and really just try to get their life on track. And that's a real focal point for John McGinnis that I mentioned earlier, as far as us, really helping those guys, guiding those guys to become better people. And as far as the church is concerned, it's been a really nice connection. But the partnerships are so substantial in length. I mean, we partner with the Chamber of Commerce, the CVB. We partner with Visit Pensacola. We partner with just about anybody that's trying to bring people to this part of the world. We reach out and have that community intent that is really, really a part of who we are. But there's so many partnerships that it's hard to elaborate on them all, man.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really put enough forethought into that question. Obviously you guys are massive, so it makes sense you guys have a lot of great partners, but it's pretty great that you guys have such a great brand that people are willing to work with.
We're lucky. We're very, very lucky. The equity that was built on behalf of our initial 2 owners, both Joe Gilchrist and Pat McClellan, those guys laid such a strong foundation that it makes developing these partnerships really easy. I work in conjunction and very frequently with the largest management companies and entertainment in the world. world, work with the largest agencies in the world frequently, and then work with the largest labels in the world very frequently too. So, and there's some real gems of partnership there. So, it touches every element of who we are and what we do. And I'm kind of partial to the entertainment aspects of our partnerships, but I also deal with partnerships on the beverage side, and they're awesome too, man. It's just, we're, like I said, we're very lucky, and all of it has resulted from a lot of hard work that was put in on behalf of our original owners, man.
You guys do just about everything. You're basically your own city. What do you think is going to be the next move for Flora-Bama on expanding?
We're really, really focused on getting the radio platform up and becoming something significant in terms of developing a listener base. We also have a media team here that is comprised of myself, the ownership team, and all the individuals who touch development or post-production stuff. So what we want to do, and it really has been an eye-opener for us as far as the pandemic was concerned, is we want people to be able to stay in touch with the good feelings that they develop here. And we want people to still feel like they're at the Flora-Bama wherever they are, and to be able to access the brand. So we're developing some really cool media stuff that will allow people to essentially be a part of the Flora-Bama from a video perspective. And again, iHeartRadio, we've got some really cool concepts that are being integrated into the radio platform. And, the sky's the limit with those guys. So I'm really interested to see what happens there, but it's going to be big for us. But it was brought on by the need to connect with the people who have made connections here and made a connection with this brand when we didn't necessarily have the ability to do that when the pandemic struck.
Right on. And, you touched on, the great community that you guys have and how awesome the brand that you work for is. What would you say is your favorite part about working with Flora-Bama?
It's the entertainment, hands down. As a performer myself, I've just really been in awe with what it takes to make this big wheel turn. We boast hosting more performances over 6 stages than just about any other place in the U.S. And it's a monumental feat. I'm very lucky, again, to have great individuals who are on that team, both Davis Nix in talent procurement and Paul Halinga and in logistics and our artist relations manager. Essentially, the three of us run we pretty much run an agency. And that agency books and executes, again, 3,500 shows a year. So it's been really cool to kind of sink my teeth into developing a process that manages the entire thing from top to bottom, and to watch it grow and flourish. But, the entertainers are one of the biggest parts of who we are. It's always been a place where you can come and receive some really, really cool performances that are unlike anywhere else you go. So, we have spots on a weekly basis that are dedicated solely to individuals that are performing original materials. And then as the night progresses, you get more of a variety. So at 10 p.m. here, you can see 6 different acts that if you're not finding what you need in one genre, you just pop into the next room and you're going to find a totally different set of circumstances. So it's real dynamic, and there are tons of areas where you can hang out all over property and enjoy live music. But by far, my favorite part of this job is being kind of the guy who gets to steer the wagon. It's just it's an honor, and it's really cool. There's nothing like us anywhere on the entertainment front, man.
Do you have any personal favorite memories of any past concerts that happened?
It was really, really awesome to see Riley Green. This year we pulled off Riley's show on the beach stage just before everything shut down. And Riley's a great personal friend. Obviously, his career in country music is escalating quickly. But to see him move from when we met, which was 6 or 7 years ago, being in a position where he's on the sand behind the Flora-Bama, playing on a 4x8 sheet of plywood, to stepping on an SL320 and having full-scale audio, a sold-out performance, that was really, really special. Just to see kind of where he's went in his career. I absolutely love having John Rich on property. John and I have developed a real kinship, and he is such a great guy, such a great entertainer. It's been awesome to work with John. But I mean, just working with a myriad of national artists who have been incredible to get to know, whether it's Ryan Hurd or, Parnell or Midland or 1,000 Horses. I mean, the list is extensive, and it's just been a real blessing to be able to develop those friendships and to follow their career trajectory on a national level. And all of them are just such cool people, man. There's too many to list, but it's been my favorite part of the job.
Very cool. Do you still perform?
I do occasionally. Usually, if I'm here outside of day-to-day activities, I'm probably having a cocktail, and I like to enjoy entertainment. But I still hop up when I get called out, and it happens pretty frequently. But I try to not book myself too much, because if I'm going to be up here outside of everyday operations, I'm going to be having a bushwhacker.
Very cool. So are you vocals? Do you play an instrument?
Yeah, I play the guitar and sing. I've been doing it for, I guess 30 years now, man. And it was my passion as a kid. It's always been my passion, and something that, once you have the live performance snake bite, it doesn't leave you. It only gets worse. So, yeah, I fight it continuously. I want to do more of it. But right now, the demands of the job just come before that desire. So in due time, all things,
Yeah, I can definitely relate on that one. I used to be in a band in high school, and, don't want to brag, we were pretty big. We had 1,000 likes on Facebook. We were pretty, we were up there. But looking back on that, once when I have some more free time, I really want to get back into just doing cover bands and just grooving. It's been way too long since the last time I've played.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like, the experience on earth of being on stage, whether you're an independent performer or you're performing with a group of guys. It's that kinship that you just really can't articulate. Having an audience that is completely engaged in what you're doing, and it's a symbiotic relationship, man. The more the audience gives, the more you give, and we see that every day here on property. It's probably the coolest thing about the entertainment here is just to watch the entertainers interact with our guests. We have some really great entertainers locally, like I mentioned earlier, and one of them in particular his name's Big Earl. And he is a guy that's performed here for about 25 years. His show is actually half comedy and half exceptional music. I guess the whole thing's really exceptional music, but the show's just wild, man. I mean, it's debauchery on the next level. And just the moment where you think, what is this guy doing? Can this show get any crazier? He flips over and does a version of Tennessee whiskey that just blows everybody's mind. And it's that kind of stuff all the time. He's probably the best manager of crowd engagement that I've ever seen. He's truly perfected the art. But, there are other acts that play with us frequently that have that kind of same charisma. And it really changes things when you see so many people that are here for one time, for one thing, and that's really just to have a good time. And all of our artists do an exceptional job of really promoting good times, man.
This is only slightly irrelevant, but I figured you'd appreciate this. One of my closer group of friends back from high school, they actually have a band that mixes their band, obviously, but then they mix it with wrestling. So they put on a wrestling show.
Oh, God. Wow. That's nuts, man. Hey, maybe something we look at down the road.
Yeah.
We've had Diamond Dallas Page here. We may do another feature with DDP and see if we can't get him to diamond cut somebody during a great song.
For sure.
How does that come about? Like, who was like, let's do wrestling and music?
I mean, they're just really into wrestling, and they're also really into music. I guess they just figured out, we'd like to do these two things. Let's put it together.
Okay.
And let me tell you.
Next level of entertainment. How do you decide what you're paying attention to,
Right. Let's put on a show.
Oh, man. Yeah. Hey, not out of the question here.
That's like watching like a YouTube video that already has the music playing over the action. You know what I mean?
Right. We've thought about it before. We've had a lot of organizations reach out with wrestling, different types of wrestling, and we're like, well, is it really brand relevant or not? But if you saw Big Earl's performances, you'd probably say, yeah, it's very brand relevant. It's nuts, man. I don't know what all I can say on this thing, but I can tell you it's a crazy show.
Hey, I mean, let loose, bro.
I mean, he's got a 4 foot in diameter titty wheel on stage, and this wheel spins like a game show, and it's got different pie slices on it, right? And each pie slice is a call song, whether it's Mustang Sally, Brown Eyed Girl, Sweet Home Alabama, Margaritaville, stuff that most bands are trying to avoid for one reason or another. And then there's one pie slice that says, show your tatas. And it's a very effective game. I'll put it to you that way. We got about 500 bras hanging in the ceiling of the dome where he performs. And those lines get so heavy that we have to actually take the bras down and donate them to a local charity, man.
Oh, wow. Well,
that is legendary.
It's all for a good cause.
It is, man. It is. You guys have to see him play when you come down here. Like I said, it's something that you never witnessed before. It's debauchery on the next scale. Always
down for that. What would you say is your least favorite part of your job?
Least favorite? It's tough, man. It's like anything else, when you carry a cell phone, I love this place completely and wholeheartedly, but when you carry a cell phone, regardless of where you're at, you're tied to what's going on here. And it can be difficult to have that delineation between personal life and professional life. And for me, it's not something that's a bad thing all the time because I love what I do so much. But, it's taxing when you're constantly having to address things that are going on, whether you're here or not. And that's probably the most challenging thing for me is never being really able to disconnect and focus on what I'm doing personally. But thankfully, my wife is super cool. You mentioned she works here also. She's a marketing director. And so she's kind of in a similar position. And we totally understand that with each other. And, if I didn't have such an understanding wife, it may be a different story. But that's the most challenging part. It's just hard to disconnect whenever you want to. And when I want to, it's rare for me. But I usually have to leave the country to get it done.
That's why I said least favorite, because I know you enjoy everything.
I do, man. I do.
So did you meet Jennifer before or after you started working with Flora-Bama?
After. Yeah, okay. She's kind of the hands-on. There's no kind to it. She's hands-on. She's the individual that is a manager who, she would never ask anyone to do something she's not doing. And so one day I'm walking around property and there's this really hot girl that's hanging up posters. And I said to myself, man, I got to meet the person that hires these poster girls. And it was actually her. So I went up to her, we had a conversation and, things just developed from there, but it's part of my Flora-Bama story. And the greatest part of my Flora-Bama story is just having her be something that this place brought into my life. It has been by far the best aspect of me finding this place or it finding me.
Well said. That's a pretty great story.
Yeah, man. I can't speak enough wonderful things about her. You guys come down and you'll meet her, you'll know and you'll understand. Immediately you meet her and she's just so personable. She doesn't meet a stranger. It's a cliche statement, but she lives that and just got a great heart and she's very capable. She's very, very capable. We're just lucky in general here outside of my wife. We're lucky to have the staff that we have. We have some really, really incredible members of our staff that we've acquired along the way who are just mind-blowing to me, industry-wise. We've got Director of Restaurant Outlets, Brad Hackert, who is one of the most foremost aficionados on food in the U.S., and we were lucky enough to have him as a consultant for a little while, and it became, how do we change this relationship from consultant to full-time contributor? And we lucked out in getting him, and it's that story across multiple fronts. I mentioned Davis Nix earlier, who is he works on my entertainment team. He's in talent procurement. He's also our production lead. lead and manages every aspect of production here. But Davis is just an incredible performer. You know, he's had a Rolling Stones write-up, top 10 people to watch in country music. And the list of those types of individuals just go on our executive management team. And we got a damn cool staff, man. Really cool. Everybody has their strengths for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they're anything like you, then you guys got a pretty good thing going.
Oh, bro, I appreciate that. That means they're excellent drinkers. I've developed somewhat of a prowess in the category. You know, you work 20 years and have an expense account for consuming, you get pretty good at things, dude. And I would say that I've probably championed that process.
Hey, it's a skill, just like anything else.
It's a skill, man. I've dedicated myself to it. My liver put an ad in the Craigslist for a new owner yesterday, though.
Hey man, I've been there. I just graduated college, so I've been through some years here. You know, probably liver more 45 than 25.
Where'd you go?
University of Toledo.
Okay, got you. So you went in state. Pretty good experience.
Oh, I mean, I loved it. Dan, how about you?
Oh yeah, I'd say it's the best bang for your buck.
Definitely.
In Ohio?
Yeah, it's up there in Ohio. The best bang for your buck, I'd say so.
Oh yeah, it's very affordable, but you know, you're also still getting the college experience. So it's like you're gonna have college debt, but only a little bit of college debt.
Yeah, and the memories that you make over those 4 years kind of outweigh the debt on like a sentimental level. Yeah. So
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I went to a similar school in Alabama, Troy University. It's a smaller school in the state, but outside of the state, it's enormous. It's a big military school throughout the globe, a lot of installations, but proved to be very similar to what you went through. In fact, you know, I've hired some fraternity brothers that I met in that process here at the Bama and just made some great relationships. So it sounds like we had a pretty similar college experience.
Did you say you were part of a fraternity?
Yeah, man.
What house?
Pi Kappa Phi. I was in the Gamma Gamma chapter at Troy, and yeah, it was one of the greatest decisions of my life, man.
Yeah, man, I hear that. We have a Pi Cap here at Toledo. I'm Alpha Sig, and Dan
KDR.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are in the Greek system too, man. Y'all went through a little bit later than me. I'm getting older these days. I'm approaching 40, so my experience was probably similar to yours, but maybe a little more difficult.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably been some changes.
It's become pretty difficult to have what we had in those days, you know, but I'm very thankful for what I got to experience, and the relationships that I developed in that particular aspect of my life have proved to be lifelong relationships and impacted me tremendously and still do to this day. Very grateful for being able to go through that process and love my brothers, man. They're brothers. It's just like blood, you know?
Oh, 100%. Definitely agree. It's life-changing to say the least, but I think, I don't know how different it was, like your experience to ours, but I know when I rushed 5 years ago, everything was really under a microscope just because of, you know, like hazing and stuff like that. I mean, I've never had a problem with it personally, and I don't know anybody that has at the University of Toledo, but it's hard to continue some of the traditions and cultures when everything's under a microscope.
It is, man. It is. And it's important to recognize also that things change, and it can be difficult to embrace change, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. You just got to find ways to create brotherhood outside of bonding individuals against hardships. You know, and we recently had to encounter those kind of discussions as an alumni team, and, you know, things change, man. And that doesn't necessarily make them worse or better, but your ability to live and thrive as an organization is all contingent upon your ability to adapt, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll move away from the fraternities now. When I had talked to Jennifer before, she said that there was possibly a story or two that you wanted to tell here that really impacted your life and the way that you view your outlook. Yeah,
man. I guess my most impactful story that I would have to tell here would be Cameron Price, who is one of our owners, has become such a good friend of mine. And he's just a beyond impressive guy. So, I mean, I feel like such an underachiever every time I list like his accolades. I mean, he is a 2-time MIT graduate and was an Army Ranger and graduated from West Point. And Cam has done just a ton of stuff that make him an unbelievable operator. And Cam has really taken me under his wing here at this business and allowed me to impact this business and been a mentor for me. And I certainly never anticipated that coming to the Bama, but it's totally changed my life. He's become, again, one of my best friends, and just so very, very lucky to have developed that relationship and to have to John McGinnis, who is one of our owners as well. John's family were a huge engineering family. They've also been in disaster relief for a very long time. They built roads and bridges, and John has tremendous accolades and accreditations on the professional front, and he's become one of my best buds and just been a mentor for me as well. And when I reflect on being able to work with Pat and Joe, the original 2 owners, and just to see their mentality about, what we should be, who we should be, and how this place was developed. It was developed on the thought process of treating everyone equally with respect, regardless of who you are in life, where you come from. All those things get thrown out the window at the Flora-Bama, and they've developed something where you can literally be sitting at a bar and be worrying about your next dollar and your next paycheck, and be having a conversation with someone who is a billionaire. And those relationships strike up at this place. And it's been awe-inspiring for me to witness what they've created. So working for the ownership team here has been a very powerful and impactful aspect of my life outside of marrying my wife. And, just to be able to steer the wagon again from an entertainment perspective and develop the relationships that I've developed. They really just changed my total outlook. I went from very corporate structured environment as an executive in the corporate world to encountering this place. And it has it's totally changed my mentality. For all the people out there who think that you have to take a traditional route to something to bring you happiness, it's just not true. I personally believe this, and I don't push my beliefs on anyone, but I believe God's timing is perfect, and He has a plan for the better for us, and this is the best example of that in my life that I could provide. Never encountered in a million years being at the Flora-Bama in any capacity other than a performer, and needless to say, that's changed. But it's been such a really, really neat experience. And I would have discounted it 1,000 times over a couple of decades. And that would have been illegitimate because it's just been the best thing that ever happened to me, man.
That's a great story. And I love there's a couple of things that you touched on there that I really liked, but the 2 that stood out to me were mentorship and how important that is. And the other thing is breaking that mold of what your traditional life trajectory should be.
Right.
So I'll start on the former mentorship. This is something that me and Dan talk about pretty frequently, I would say, being that we've had multiple internships and co-ops within college, and then we weren't as prepared as what we felt we should be when leaving college and entering the real world. I know, Dan, you probably have some strong feelings on this.
Oh, I definitely do. So I forgot Frankie mentioned this, but we're in our own software company, and the amount that I've learned just from creating our own company in the last year has been about, I'd say, a little more than what I learned in college. It's just, but I mean, I feel like there's just certain ways of going about it and teachings that there needs to be some updates for sure.
No doubt, man. Real world experience. And that was one of the biggest turnoffs for me in college, is that I felt like there were so many obstacles to getting to a point where I'm actually doing the things that I'm going to apply in the professional world. And, you really don't get to do those things until you get out in the workforce and you get thrown into the fire. But having a mentor in those times is paramount.
In terms of the most impactful mentorship or guidance that I've had throughout college. And I'm not even going to lie when I say this, it was probably our fraternity. Just because, you have a big and you have a support system in place that teaches you how to network, go to these different events that are formal on campus, or even being, philanthropic in your community, and stuff like that. I wholeheartedly believe that fraternities have the best interest in mind of all the members.
I do too, and you see so many people out there that demonize them, that don't really understand what a fraternity is. But you're exactly right. The philanthropic aspects of it have always been something that were truly important to me, eye-opening to me, and something that I wanted to continue in my professional life. We're big time supporters of St. Jude here at the Flora-Bama, and my wife and I are personal supporters of St. Jude, and that's been a carryover from things that I learned in the Greek world from Pi Cap. And, it's they build you to be an individual who's ready to approach some challenging circumstances in life and be a good individual to that degree. So, yeah, I can't say enough about the positive that came out of my college experience associated with joining the fraternity, man. Lifelong friendships, networking, and some really important perspective was gained going through that process, and it's something that I don't feel like will ever leave me, man.
And then, yeah, I 100% agree with that. The second thing I wanted to say was breaking that mold of what a traditional job should be, or like what a traditional adult is, right? You talk about having corporate experience, and then never thinking that you would actually work at the place that you love most, which is Flora-Bama. I think that's something that is really overlooked in college and high school. You're always told, get a 9 to 5, get an education. Your degree will apply to this, this, and this. And people really don't set goals for themselves higher than what they're told at a young age. And I think that is a pretty big detriment to society in terms of limiting yourself.
I agree, man. I mean, it's like there's an equation that's already figured out for us all that we have to drop the appropriate variables in. And when reality says you can do whatever you want to do, and in retrospect, for me, it's pursuing my passion really got me to a point in life where I'm content. And I have to say, as much as I love the beverage industry prior to making the transition, and I definitely love the industry, I was never really content. And I did not have the wherewithal to make a really tough decision to say, okay, this is not fulfilling me completely. I need to pivot and go after what it is that I love. And I made that decision in 2014. And as a result, what I encountered was something that was so much larger than I ever expected. And, there's fear associated with making those types of decisions. But my one piece of advice is exactly what you said. That's never, ever believe that there is a cookie cutter way to approach life. Trust your instincts and make decisions that are tough, and work your tail off, dude. And, everything else will fall into place.
God, that is a great sound clip right there. Definitely gonna have to take that. That's pretty inspirational. Thank you for sharing that.
It's true, man.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. And I mean, like I said, until we all came together about 18 months ago, me, Dan, and four of our other close friends, I could have just seen myself working, at the hospital where I had a previous job, or, just some corporate job, and realizing now that I would not be satisfied with that. I just don't think there's any way.
No.
Well, you get caught up. I say I speak for myself. I get caught up in chasing dollars. I got caught up in really just trying to drive myself up the corporate ladder. And when your intent is based on that perspective, ultimately you're going to land on something that's not going to be fulfilling, because I don't think that those things can actually give you what you need in life to be truly fulfilled. You have to do what you love. The old adage, do what you love for a living and never work a day in your life. I don't know the man that wrote that, but I'd love to shake his hand, because it's completely true in regard to my life, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. That's pretty great quote. I've heard it a couple times. So
it's true. It's true. Do what you love. Do what you love. Don't waste time on anything else.
So what is something that you wish you had known before you got into the food and beverage industry?
I wish I'd have known how hard it can be at times. It's a grind, you know. It's anybody who works in the food and beverage industry, whether it's frontline employees, food and beverage managers, catering sales. There are a myriad of key accountabilities and job roles that are associated with food and beverage. And I think all too often, it can be easy to discount that individual that's waiting on you at a table at your local restaurant. And the reality is some very formative key points are taking place for those individuals. And it's a tough job, man. You know, people have a tendency to look at an individual who's on the floor of a restaurant and make some ill-acquired perspective, man. And, you know, it's a hustle. It's a grind. It's tough, but it's admirable at the end of the day. And I wish more people knew how important the guys and gals are that are out there hustling their tails off and doing what it takes to make a living for themselves, and in the process make a great time for patrons like us. You know, I just wish I would have known the difficulty associated with that, because if I had, I would have probably had a different vantage point than I do now at a much earlier time in life. And I feel like it's one that's important that everyone could share.
I 100% agree. I haven't had, you know, a plethora of jobs, but one job that I had for a week in high school, and this is by far the shortest amount of time I've ever worked. I worked as a dish cleaner in a restaurant. So, you get your dirty dishes, you stamp them, put detergent in, and then you sort them, ship them out. That job, I worked for a week there, about 8 to 12 hours each day, and I didn't go back the second week. It was the hardest job I've ever had.
It's hard, and it's humbling, and you know, it's people don't understand the nuts and bolts that are associated with the smallest thing, like making an order and getting that order out to you. There is somebody doing exactly what you just said. There's somebody back there sweating and hot and has a laborious task in front of them to make sure that you have a good time. And it's the hospitality industry in and of itself is full of people behind the scenes and people in front of you that are really important to an experience. And I'm grateful that we have the caliber of employee that we have across outlets. And I'm very grateful that I've acquired my current position on appreciating every individual that touches the industry, because it's no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, hospitality can be difficult, but to say that I appreciate it now is by far a shortcoming attempt to accurately describe it, man. I just appreciate everybody involved in the process.
Absolutely. And this might seem a little counterintuitive from what we've just been talking about and how great Flora-Bama is and the culture you have there. But if you weren't working at Flora-Bama, what do you think you'd be doing?
At this point, there's no doubt in my mind that I'd be performing and writing. And it's something that's still important to me. It's still on my radar. You know, I've been very transparent with our ownership team here, and I have those things that I am still, like I said, once a snake bites you, it doesn't go away, man. And I would definitely be performing if I weren't doing my job here, but to be so closely associated with entertainers and to be so closely associated with producing events has kind of satiated that. But it's only a matter of time before it becomes more of a demand in my life. So I would certainly be performing right now if I wasn't here. But I'm very thankful that I've ended up in my seat, and all things in due time, man.
Very nice. Yeah, can't wait for us to come out and see you perform live.
You guys tell me when, and like I said, we'll make sure you get in the condo, and I'll make sure you have a good time.
We'll get a double header. We'll get you and Big Earl back to back.
Oh man, it'd be over. I'm telling you, this guy's a riot. Every day's a riot with him, dude. You just got to experience it. I mean, he's got a portion of the show called the Mullet Toss. Like, it's wild, man. Let's get a date on the book so you guys can come and really just leave mind blown, because I promise you that will take place.
Hey, say no more. I've learned a lot about Flora-Bama on this podcast, and every sentence makes me want to come even more.
Yep. It's a great spot, man. Great spot.
All right. Well, we're going to start winding down the podcast here. We got some fun and off-topic questions for you, just to pick your brain. So is there a hangover recipe? Yes or no?
The only recipe for treating a hangover is to hydrate yourself while you're drinking. Like, that's it. So if you want to just get hammered, you have to do it with a water in between every drink, and you can still maintain a buzz, but it's the hydration factor that ends up getting you in the end, and then watching what you're consuming. A lot of times it's the hydration factor associated with the sugar factor, sugar consumption, and those two things can be really what gives you those nice, wonderful days where you want to go drown yourself. That's it. Dude. Stay hydrated. Don't consume so much sugar, and manage your buzz, and that's how to eliminate one. But outside of that, no, I don't think there's a hangover cure.
It's actually funny you brought up the sugar and sweets. That is what we talked with a wine shop owner, and she said that was part of the reason why cheaper wines generally have worse hangovers.
That's correct.
Because the artificial sweeteners, and they didn't have enough time to mature and get rid of all of the, I forget what they're called, but basically live out the lifespan to which the sugary process is no longer there.
That's right. It's a substitute, and that substitute creates an awful day the next day. But sugars in general, the American consumer palate is a very sweet palate. You guys have probably traveled abroad. When you travel abroad, you realize that everybody else is really not focused on consuming sugars, and we have become hyper focused on consuming sugars. And no doubt they're a part of the beverage industry. And again, when you load up on 10, 12, 15 drinks that are 250, 300 calories, and those calories are coming directly from sugar, it's not going to be a fun day that follows.
No, sir. I've gotten to the point now. I'm mostly just a dark spirit guy. I'm content with a neat whiskey. So,
oh, dude, when I was with Beam, man, we had some really, really great whiskeys. When I was there, we had Maker's Mark, we had Basil Hayden, Knob Creek, Booker's, Baker's, just an exceptional portfolio. So I spent about a decade drinking in that lane, and these days I'm clear, man. I'm usually either drinking vodka or there's really no telling. I like ciders, like beer. I'm typically a +1 man when I'm drinking beer or cider. There's going to be a shot that follows those things, and it works for me.
Love to hear it.
No, you're talking about going abroad and how they do things a little bit different over there. It's a funny side story. When I was 16, I went to Spain, and I was there with some of my buddies, and they were all older, so I was the youngest in the group. But we went there, and 16, I could get drinks, no problem. They didn't really ID me or anything. But we went back to our hotel room, and it was like 2 a.m. and the club across the street from us was open 24 hours. And I swear they were bumping all night long. Like, we were in a hotel on the 18th floor, dude. This club, they just did not stop. They were just having a good ass time. So I just want to share that.
Oh man, look, they're out there, and to your point, in other countries, drinking's a part of the culture well before it is in the United States. And I didn't travel outside of the country until I was of age, but it was eye-opening for me, man. Flying into Schiphol and going out in New Amsterdam, and just watching what takes place there was a mind-warping experience for me. Seeing how people operate in Scotland, man. I mean, the statement, if you're old enough to sit at the bar, you're old enough to drink. I mean, it's just a part of the culture. The only place in the U.S. where you see that kind of stuff is really, Louisiana is kind of it's such a big part of the culture, and it's such an accepted aspect of who the inhabitants of Louisiana are. They're some of our best patrons, man. They just love to have a good time, and drinking and eating are just a big part of their culture. But I'd never seen it outside of Louisiana until I left the U.S. And it's a cool thing, man. I mean, it just initiates conversation and appreciation for people, makes it easier to just let loose and do what we do here at the Flora-Bama, which is to just get away for a minute, man, and enjoy yourself in the moment. I think all too often in this life, it can be difficult to do that.
Yeah, and on a previous podcast that we had just recently recorded, probably within the last 2 weeks, we had asked, like, what is one place that you'd recommend someone would go or like visit if they were on vacation? And they said New Orleans. They said the culture there between food, drinking, and just having a good time is unlike anywhere else in the U.S.
It's amazing, man. It is. And you're exactly right. The culinary prowess that exists in New Orleans is mind-numbing. Believe it or not, I mean, so many people never think of a city like Birmingham, Alabama as being somewhere where you can go and have an exceptional time. And it feels like a major metropolitan area. I mean, they have multiple James Beard Award winners in the city. They have multiple areas of nightlife, a lot of live entertainment, very vibrant city. But, nobody would come out of the gates thinking I need to hit Birmingham. But to your point, New Orleans is on a totally different playing field, man. Yeah, you got to be a pro drinker to go down there. If you're not, bad things will ensue.
Well, I'm going to ask you that same question now. Is one place that you would recommend for other people to visit on a vacation? You can't say New Orleans because that'd be a cop-out answer.
No, man, I tell you, the wife and myself have really developed this kinship and love for St. Bart. And we go every year, and it has become a part of us. The culture there is so awesome. It's a beautiful, tiny little island, but just so much fun, man. And, the people are great. It's a French island, and it's just full of bars. I mean, really different types of bars. La Select downtown at Gustavia in the Port is a really, really old bar. And you got that. And then the antithesis of that would be at Nikki Beach, where, it's like a celebrity hangout and ridiculously expensive, but having such disparity in terms of, where you can go, what you can spend, how much fun you can have in any environment. It's just such a cool place, and it's settled right in the Lesser Antilles, just a beautiful little island. So we go there every year, and I would recommend taking a trip there if you guys have never been.
Wait, is that in the Caribbean?
Yep.
What is it?
It is. So you can either you can fly from San Juan directly into St. Bart, or you can fly to St. Martin and then take a jumper from St. Martin to St. Bart. St. Martin is it's a mixed island. It's got French and Dutch sides, and then literally right across from St. Martin to the south is St. Bart. And it's just, dude, there's so much cool stuff. I mean, you can go hiking to the middle of nowhere and see all walks of life, sailboats that have traveled around the world, and just be in an hour span, be somewhere that's totally different, that adds different types of value. But it's a quintessential island experience. Been to a lot of islands, but St. Bart gets my vote, man.
Yeah, I've never been to St. Bart's, but I've been to St. Martin and one of the other saints down there. I had the fortunate experience of going on a cruise when I was younger, and we got to stop by all those places, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah, dude, you got to fly down there, spend more time in them. It can get raucous.
I know. Yeah, that was one thing. It's like we were on a cruise, so you stop by like all the islands for like 8 to 10 hours, whatever it is. But really, yeah, that'd be the way to do it, is just go down there and just spend like a weekend, a week, whatever, and just really have no time constraints.
I stopped going on cruises specifically because I would get to somewhere where I just wanted to stay longer. And I'm like, man, I don't have the capacity to do that in this trip. So I guess from now on, I'm going to like thoroughly vet what it is that I want to do in terms of traveling and create the experience I want. We've done it all over the place, man. We've had some great travels. So John McGinnis, who I mentioned earlier, is actually one of our owners, but he is the president of Love for Love City, which is Kenny Chesney's foundation. And that foundation was responsible for cleaning up the islands after Irma came through and Maria came through, and St. John was hit very, very hard. And those islands down there have become such an integral part of who we are that we have an employee contest on an annual basis, and we send 3 different trips of employees down to St. John just to experience it. So, the idea is that those islands have this carefree attitude, and there is such thing as island time. When you get down there, you find yourself on it, and all your worries just go away, man. And if I could recreate that on a daily basis, I would certainly consider it, but I don't know if I'd ever leave here, man. Orange Beach, Alabama, and Perdido Key, Florida are very, very special places. Most people have no idea that this kind of stuff exists in the South. And for a long time, it was a really well-kept secret. People are starting to find it out. And I hope you guys are going to take me up on that offer soon and see what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All you got to do is say the word.
Oh, I got you. I was on a call with Jennifer, so I got her number. I can just text her and I'll tell her we're coming down.
Yep, that's all you got to do. She runs all of our bookings as far as condos are concerned. So just give her a buzz, man, like it's on. I'm telling you, when you guys get here, be ready.
Yes, sir.
Bring your drinking shoes.
Always. Gotta.
So Flora-Bama has a lot of territory. And with all that territory, there's got to be at least one location that has some paranormal activity. And I was wondering if you would be aware of any such location.
Yeah, so the south side of the road, one of our performers. I mean, the bar has been in existence since 1964. So there's the history that's associated with the place. But one of our performers, Kathy Pace, has played with us for going on 30 years, and she calls this place an airport for souls, and it's pretty accurate. But people have a tendency to leave items here, and they're all over the place. When you guys come, you're going to just see the landscape is littered everywhere with just different things. I mean, it might be a bullhead, a stuffed bullhead, or it could be a license plate. It could be any random item that you just have no idea why it was important for one person to get here for one reason or another. It's usually associated with a loved one. Sometimes it's their own personal items, but I have had individuals that have told us that their family members' ashes are stored in one of these items, and it's reality. When you come here, you can feel it. No negative aspects of having the souls that are here around. I think they actually contribute to the imbibbery and the good time, and it's why that a lot of people have wanted to leave their mark here. But yeah, some strange stuff takes place from time to time, man. Wayne Mills. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Wayne or not, but Wayne was the underground outlaw country king for years. I mean, decades. And Wayne was a personal friend. I believe that he's partially responsible for me being here. But there was a night where we were hosting Ode to Wayne Mills. And on that night, just out of the middle of nowhere, literally the middle of nowhere, we get a lightning strike and it turns everything off in the room. And it's while his song, I'll Be Here When They Burn the Last Song You Talk Down, was being played. And it was no doubt in my mind that it was him saying, "Hey, I'm here." And don't think that I wasn't being serious when I wrote those words. Wow. Yeah, man. Great stuff here, though. I mean, you just have to see what this place has become to so many people. To your point, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. And, that has proliferated and it's really developed into something special, man. A lot of people in a lot of places have a Flora-Bama story. And it's those folks who have contributed to making us who we are, what we are. And there's a profound sense of appreciation for everyone who's come to believe in this place and loves it for what it is. And that's a part of their life where they can actually just let loose and be themselves,
For sure. What would you say is the most thrill-seeking thing you've ever done before?
When I was a kid, I grew up whitewater kayaking professionally, and I've done some pretty hairy rivers in the U.S., man. Some pretty crazy stuff. Some Class 5 plus stuff. I have to say that probably Narrows of the Green would be a good example of that. There's a rapid in Narrows called Gorilla that's just nutty. Section 4 of the Chattooga at some water levels has been pretty nail biting. But I've traveled all over the U.S. and paddled, and definitely some of the greatest thrills that I've ever gotten were acquired on rivers, man. Just been very lucky since a young age to be a part of that sport, and I can't discount it for anybody out there who might be considering getting into it. Whitewater kayaking is an amazing sport, man. You want to talk about thrill seeking? Yeah, you can get your thrills on for sure.
Yeah, the most I've ever done was the level 3 back when I was like 12, and I think that's enough for me when it comes to whitewater rafting. I'm when it comes to that. Like, I'll ride any roller coaster, but not the biggest fan of whitewater rafting.
Yeah, man, you get out there in nature and you realize how little control you actually have, and honing a skill set when it's important, like being able to paddle down something that probably you shouldn't be doing. You realize how insignificant you are compared to the water and compared to Mother Nature, man. But yeah, definitely a great part of my life, and definitely where I've acquired some real thrills, man.
I bet.
Yeah, because we were talking about us six, like our company going on a whitewater rafting trip, and the boys wanted to do a level 5, and I'm like, y'all are crazy. Like, there's no way. Like, we've never even done it before.
I'll compromise for a 4, but that's it.
I was like, there's no way. You guys think all 6 of us are surviving that?
Oh, man. When you get ready, let me know, because some of my good buddies are still guides up in the North Carolina, West Virginia area. And the Golly River runs at a certain time of year. In fact, it's coming up. And when you guys get ready to go, you let me know, and I'll hook the trip up. But, yeah, I got your thrills.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Just let me know.
You're from the area, right?
Yeah, I'm actually from extreme southeastern Alabama. The last county in Alabama to the southeast is called Houston County, and it connects to Georgia and Florida. Grew up there, and eventually moved to Troy, which is not too far about an hour and a half north of Dothan, and obviously went to school in Troy, then ended up transferring to UAB in Birmingham. Fell in love with that city, and have popped all over working in the corporate realm at different places. One of my favorite cities in the world is Savannah. I actually got to live there for a while. But yeah, I'm from southeastern Alabama, and it was really, really nice to be able to settle down back home and have this to settle down with. I could have never anticipated it, and sometimes I really can't believe that I lucked into this, man.
Well, sweet home Alabama. Thank you for your time, Brandon. It's been a pleasure. Where can people find you on socials, and what's your website?
So Flora-Bama.com. You go to Flora-Bama.com and check out all of our pages. You can see just about anything there, and I can be contacted through that link as well. And certainly don't forget to download the iHeartRadio platform and seek out Flora-Bama Radio. It's a killer station. I'm very, very proud of it. You can find us there, links there, and it's just. Please dive into the world that a lot of people don't know is the Gulf Coast and the Gulf Coast community. Seek us out and then follow that rabbit hole down and see what other great stuff's down here, because we live in a really cool place.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right, After Hours Nation. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to stay updated, you can check out our site at AfterHoursCast.com. Don't forget to tune in next Tuesday morning for our next episode. After Hours Nation, stay thirsty, my friends.